Tim had been working as a park ranger for a very long time, and he loved his job deeply. Every day, he would walk the same path, observe the animals' movements, and check their water sources. And although things didn't change much, he was always amazed by what he saw. But when he saw this particular nest, he knew that something terrible had happened. Tim had been passing by this nest almost every day for the past few years. He remembered the first day the nest appeared, and he had been closely following its construction over the years. Before we begin, remember to subscribe, like, and enable notifications for more stories. He could usually hear the happy chirping of birds from a distance, but on this day it was quiet. He also heard leaves rustling and other birds chirping in the garden. But around this tree there was complete silence. This had never happened before during all those years the nest was in the garden. In addition, there wasn't a single bird to be seen here. Usually, Tim could see a number of birds moving around the nest, and sometimes on slow days, he would watch them bring twigs and keep expanding the nest. He cautiously approached the tree, careful not to startle any birds inside. After all, except for the silence, everything seemed completely normal. Tim wasn't sure that the birds really weren't there, and he didn't want to disturb them if they were. In the end, he decided not to do anything yet. Maybe there was a completely natural explanation for all of this, and he didn't want to interfere with the birdhouse without a good reason, so he backed off and decided to check again tomorrow. If the nest seemed empty again, he would take action. All day, Tim couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He hoped that when he returned to the garden the next day, the birds would be chirping again and everything would go back to normal. That wouldn't happen. He might even call the police, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. The next day, Tim arrived at the garden early. He couldn't wait to check on that nest again, and he headed straight to the tree. As soon as he saw the nest, he felt that something was wrong, but he told himself not to jump to conclusions just yet. When he got closer to the tree, he noticed some strange marks on the ground. He didn't recognize them, and he knew they weren't made by an animal, at least not by any kind of animal known in this garden. "Oh no!" he said to himself, thinking about all the dangerous predators that could have made their way here. Tim felt worried for a moment there, but after carefully examining the rest of the area around the tree, he concluded that the birds hadn't been attacked. There were no feathers or injured birds on the ground, leading him to believe nothing had harmed them. The tree was too tall for him to look inside the nest, and he really needed to do that to understand what was happening, so he went to the ranger's station and brought all the equipment he needed. He usually walked around the park on foot, but this time he took a truck. When he arrived, he took down the ladder and placed it next to the tree. The ladder shook as he climbed it, but he was very excited to look inside the nest. Usually, the shaking and noise from the ladder would scare the birds, but this time no bird came out of the nest. This was just more evidence for Tim that he was about to discover something important. And with every passing second, he became more convinced that the nest would be empty. But of course, he couldn't be sure of that until he looked inside. The only way to do that was to cut the nest, and that's why he brought all kinds of tools with him. Climbing higher on the ladder for a better view of the nest, he spotted something that made his eyes widen in surprise. "What is this? How could this happen?" he shouted. He almost lost his balance and fell off the ladder. That's how shocked he was. "I wonder." This nest was usually very thick and provided cover for the birds inside. But here, there was a big hole in the nest, and Tim was sure that the birds themselves didn't make this hole, so the question remained, who did this? Because of the hole, Tim finally looked inside the nest and confirmed his suspicions. No birds were inside, but the nest wasn't completely empty. No, on the contrary, he found something inside that shouldn't have been there, and he quickly climbed down the ladder to get his phone and call the police. Tim hurried down the ladder, heart pounding from discovering the empty nest. Confused and worried, he called the police. tense as he described the nest's emptiness and the strange object inside. Anxiously awaiting their response, he hoped they'd grasp the situation's seriousness. However, the police were dismissive, mocking his concern and suggesting animals or a harmless incident were to blame. They told Tim it didn't need police involvement and advised him to monitor the situation without worrying too much. Standing alone in the quiet garden, Tim felt a wave of frustration wash over him. The police's indifference bothered him. He knew that what he had seen was not normal, but his concerns were ignored. The nest mystery haunted Tim. Should he let it go as the police suggested? Or should he dig deeper and trust his instinct that something was suspicious? After wrestling with his thoughts, Tim's decision was clear. If the police wouldn't act, he would. There was something unsettling about the nest and its contents, and he couldn't ignore it. Determination replaced his frustration. He would investigate, collect evidence, and document all findings. He was more than a park ranger now. He was on a mission. He went back to the nest to start his own investigation. He carefully examined the ground around the tree for clues explaining the nest's condition. Footprints, discarded items, anything unusual. Precision and objectivity were key. He took notes, photos, and began piecing together the mystery of the silent nest. Tim's eyes scanned the area with focused attention. He searched for any disturbance, any sign that might shed light on the mystery of the nest. Broken branches, displaced soil, strange marks, anything that seemed unusual. He documented every observation, no matter how small, since every piece of evidence could be the key to understanding what happened in this once vibrant nest. Tim contacted his fellow rangers, hoping they had noticed something he hadn't. "Have you noticed anything unusual near the big nest recently?" He asked everyone. Their answers varied, but none noticed anything important. However, Tim's determination did not waver. He knew that sometimes the smallest details that are easy to overlook are the key to solving the puzzle. After that, Tim went to the park visitors. He politely asked if I noticed anything strange about the big nest during my walks. Most of them shook their heads no, but some mentioned seeing shadows or hearing unusual sounds near the nest. Although these were vague accounts, Tim recorded them all in his notebook. Tim reviewed his notes and photos, looking for a pattern. The clues were scarce and puzzling. Visitors heard strange sounds, colleagues noticed nothing odd, and the nest was silent. Tim tried to piece these elements into a coherent story. What was happening in that nest? Tim refocused on the tree and its surroundings, noticing a pattern in the marks near the base, mostly concealed by grass. These weren't random scratches or natural erosion, they were deliberate, even methodical. But what do they mean? This new discovery added another layer of mystery to the silent nest. When Tim examined the strange marks near the tree, he was struck by a realization. These marks weren't the work of animals, they bore a clear sign of human intervention. The pattern of the marks and their location all pointed to deliberate action by someone. This was a crucial turning point in Tim's investigation. The silent nest had now become a scene of human intervention. A careful inspection revealed more clear signs hidden among the trees. Tim found large, distinct footprints that couldn't possibly belong to any animal in the nearby park. There were tool marks on the tree bark. They weren't random, but the result of specific and deliberate actions. Tim's heart was pounding as he documented every trace and sign. The sense of urgency grew inside him, recalling visitors' reports about shadows and sounds. Tim began to see a pattern. He remembered seeing lights in the park after hours, something he had ignored at first. Their behavior, tools, and visit timing all suggested a link to the strange nest incident. Tim knew he was about to discover something important. He needed to keep watching and gather enough evidence to prove their involvement in what was happening in his park. Tim's investigation took a worrying turn when he found a note pinned to his office door. "Stop looking where you shouldn't." The message was clear, a threat. Someone had noticed his spying and was not pleased. This development terrified Tim, but it confirmed he was on the right track. Despite the threat, Tim refused to back down. If anything, the threat only strengthened his resolve. He knew the risks were increasing, but so was the importance of his investigation. Tim steeled himself, realizing that backing down would mean allowing what was happening in the park to continue unchecked. Based on the event, Tim decided to explore a closed path he had previously ignored. It was hidden in a rarely visited part of the park, covered by dense trees. Carefully, Tim moved forward to find that the path led to an isolated area, hidden from the main trails. It was the perfect place for anyone wanting to avoid detection in this hidden area. Tim's discoveries were disturbing. He found several tools that seemed out of place in a nature reserve, as well as empty cages of various sizes. These items suggested illegal activities, possibly wildlife poaching or something worse. Tim photographed everything, the weight of his discoveries pressing on him. The hint of a secret in the nest intrigued the officers. Tim used this to involve the police and guide them to the mystery. Convinced by his evidence, the police agreed to work with him. This was an important moment for Tim, as his hard work and determination had finally paid off. Together they formed a plan to investigate further. Tim felt validated and hopeful. With the authorities on his side, they could delve deeper into the secrets of the garden and the nest. At a police meeting, Tim presented his evidence, including photos of tools and cages, patterns of the suspicious group's visits, and his observations of strange nest activities. The officers listened closely, their suspicion becoming concern. As the scope of illegal activities in the park became clear, Tim and the police began planning an operation to uncover their extent. During the operation, Tim and the police made a stunning discovery in the nest. It was hiding a collection of rare animal eggs. These eggs were not native to the park, and their presence there was illegal and dangerous to the local ecosystem. This discovery was the missing piece of the puzzle, as it linked the mysterious activities in the park to wildlife smuggling. The egg investigation revealed something stunning. They were part of an illegal wildlife trade network. The smugglers were using the park as a secret hub for their illegal activities, putting rare species at risk. This network was more extensive and organized than anyone expected, operating under the cover of the park's natural beauty. During the operation, Tim played a crucial role by using his park knowledge to help police position themselves and catch the smugglers without alerting them. His knowledge of the park's terrain and the suspicious group's behavior proved to be invaluable. The operation succeeded, and the smugglers were caught with the rare eggs. The evidence collected by Tim, along with the police's strategic planning, led to a swift and effective arrest. This moment was a victory for Tim and the police, as it put an end to the smugglers' illegal activities in the park and began the process of justice for the wildlife they endangered. The smugglers' arrest revealed their operation's scope. The investigation revealed a complex network involved in the illegal trade of rare animals and their eggs. The park nest was just one part of their illegal activities. Thanks to Tim's dedication and teamwork with the police, this major wildlife smuggling network was uncovered and stopped. Now the smugglers faced their legal consequences. The judicial proceedings revealed the depth of their illegal activities, highlighting the seriousness of wildlife smuggling. Justice was served as the smugglers received sentences matching their crimes. This outcome was a major victory for wildlife protection and a testament to the importance of vigilance and conservation efforts.